All right, we're back with another episode. And this time, remember, we're starting with our answer to the last icebreaker question, which is actually a teaser for what this episode is going to be about. This is a Thanksgiving episode. I believe this episode is coming out on Thanksgiving.
My turkey trot.
Oh, look
5K
at you! Yeah,
shirt on there. Yeah,
got my PSL season shirt on. Although it's PSL plain sawn lumber.
Oh,
it's plain sawn lumber, so it's a woodworking shirt.
Yes.
Our icebreaker question: what's the worst thing that's happened when traveling to, from, or on a vacation? I'll let you go first.
I will tell you this. So we have been fortunate enough as a family to not have very many bad experiences traveling.
I'd say so. Yeah, the same.
So, but the thing that you asked this, and I was thinking, and the thing that came to my mind when we were in South Dakota 2 years ago, I think. We decided we were going to drive on Needles Highway. We were going to go up Needles Highway and get to Sylvan Lake. And we were driving. I'm the one driving. I'm driving up there, and I am like, I'm terribly afraid of heights.
Yeah.
And if anybody listening has ever driven on Needles Highway, there is you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, it is like there's the road, and it's literally 2 vehicle lengths wide, and then there is a straight drop to an infinite abyss as you're driving. And I am driving, and we're going up it. So like you come out of this wooded area, and then you start working your way up. And by the time we're about halfway up there, my hands are like formed into the steering wheel. And Mindy and the kids are like looking, and Mindy's like, "Oh, ooh, Ryan, this is beautiful. You got to look at this." I said, "I'm not looking at it. I'm trying to make sure that we're going to stay on this road and not go over the edge." Like, that was the worst experience. I'm so afraid of heights, and I am just I will never drive that again. I don't even want to ride it again. I don't want to be on that highway ever again in my entire life. I'm sure it was beautiful, but I was my concern, my job at that point was to make sure my family didn't die driving up Needles Highway. Yes. So.
I think we drove that too. That was treacherous.
Yes.
I did not enjoy that for sure.
No.
Did your wife give you one of these while you're white knuckling it? Oh!
No.
Look out the window. It's so pretty.
No, thank God. I'd have been like, I'm assuming you got that.
I've gotten that a few times.
Oh man.
I'm like, okay, well, I'm driving, so maybe we'll keep that down.
Yes.
She's learned over the years. I don't get it as much anymore. But definitely early on, it was, okay. We did Hana Highway in Maui, and it's quite the same. And then I think we did Needles Point or something like it whenever we did Colorado and the Dakotas and all those.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a few of those around, and they are not
They're
fun.
terrible. Terrible.
Yeah, and the one in Maui is like 5 miles long, or no, 50 miles long, or something. It takes like an hour to drive it. It's insane.
No, I'm not. It was bad enough being on this for like 30 minutes.
And that's the worst part of it. And I think it's like 4 hours is what we spent driving the one in Maui.
Oh my gosh!
And there's sections of it that are pretty rough, and then there's like about an hour stretch where it's like that, where it's just straight cliff drops, and it's like hairpin turns and everything. But I want to say the one we did, like you're talking about, Needles Point, it was not only that, but then the road conditions were like icy at the time.
Yes, because you guys went in the winter.
Like that.
Yeah.
So it was like snowing at the same time, and we're like,
yeah.
no, never again.
No.
But that's not even my worst one. My worst one was more recent. Whenever we were on the plane, and the guy decided to strip down and try and open the back door, and we are 10,000. We're at max height,
my gosh.
and oh man, that was terrifying. But luckily the flight crew handled the situation. They took care of the guy. We got diverted to I forget where, Salt Lake City at the time, and he was removed, and we couldn't even fly out that night. We got in so late, and the pilots couldn't fly anymore, so we had to wait till the next morning to take off. So we had to get a hotel. It was a whole thing.
Oh my goodness!
I'm just glad we were returning and not flying to somewhere, because it's often that we're flying to somewhere where we're landing and then we're going and we're doing whatever our first activity is within like a couple hours. Like my wife's pretty like, she stacks she maximizes our vacations, and we get the most out of them because of that. And so we're generally going to do something that night. The first day we arrive, we've always got something planned. I mean, even if it's something small. So I'm glad that it was definitely on the return trip and not the trip out, because I'd hate for her to put in all that work and then we got to cancel something or move things around. That's heartbreaking for me. And she puts in so much effort and work on it, and I appreciate it. And
Absolutely.
I know the kids do, as much as they don't say it, but we all appreciate it very much. But yeah, so that was probably my that and on a highway are probably tied.
Yeah.
They're both pretty close.
Yeah. So let us know if you've got any kind of horror stories of traveling. Let us know in the comments, and we'd love to read them on the air and share them with everybody else. So
absolutely, we will share them. And with that, we're gonna roll our intro, and then we're gonna get right into the episode.
Yeah.
We'll see y'all in a minute. Your local video store card.
A comic book in your back pocket.
Games with no tutorials.
Music you had to discover.
And drinking water straight from the hose.
These are the things us millennials remember fondly. We are the Jennings brothers.
Join us after the streetlights come on
as we race our bikes from the top of the hill
right down memory lane.
Exchange those quarters, because this podcast takes tokens.
You can start by wiping that token smile off your rosy token cheeks. Then you can give me a gaming podcast, a movie podcast, a TV podcast, a comic book podcast, a music podcast, a podcast that takes tokens. And I really don't care for the way other podcasts leave you in the middle of token nowhere with token subscriptions to a token podcast that isn't token there anymore. And I really don't care to token download a token app and grant access to my token info to get back here to have someone steal my token face. I want this token podcast right token now. And if you don't know what we're talking about, we're watching Planes, Trains, and Automobiles this week. So
I
thoroughly enjoed that.
I knew
that's what you got to do.
I knew
that's what you got to do.
Knew you would be using that. Knew you'd be using. And speaking of that. That scene is the sole reason this movie has an R rating.
And well earned.
Yes.
Absolutely worth it.
Yeah.
100%.
Yes.
That's probably one of my favorite scenes from a movie. God, I love that.
It just goes to show you that if you're kind to people, because I try to be very friendly and very nice and kind to service workers, because I've been there. He would have had a lot different outcome, I think, if he would have just played it cool.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, I agree. You just Just be kind to one another.
Yes.
I mean, there's no need for all that.
No.
But at the same time,
Made for a good scene.
he's had a week. He's had a couple days.
Yes,
He's had a
yes.
couple of days. I think every form of transportation failed him
Oh, yes.
in this 48, 72-hour span, whatever this movie takes place over. For sure. But yeah, this is... Okay, my favorite Thanksgiving movie, because really, what else is there?
Yeah. There's not a lot.
Yeah, not a lot.
You've got
of
the horror
Thanksgiving
movie,
movies,
the
but
Thanksgiving that came out. Like
there's a horror movie, The Thanksgiving?
came out like last year, I think, or 2 years
Oh,
ago.
man.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, definitely, and then probably one of my favorite comedies.
Oh,
just
yeah.
period. It's so great, and man, I really, I really enjoy this movie. This is another one of those that's like I watch it. I try and watch it once a year, and the last few years I have for sure.
Yeah.
And John Candy, I mean, what? Oh man, what a loss.
Steve Martin.
So-
Sorry, you go ahead. Go ahead.
No, yeah, I'm just gonna say, just such a great comedic talent,
my
and
gosh.
just to imagine what could have come over the decades, but what a fantastic library of work we have to pull for
Yes.
him, and it's definitely a gem in that that pile of jewels that he has.
I would almost say this is like the crown jewel of his work.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Because for one, like Steve Martin, fantastic in this movie, absolutely fantastic. Him and John Candy play off each other so well. But
Fantastic,
this movie
yes.
would not be what it is without John Candy, and he brings the heart to it. He's got the comedy,
Absolutely.
but then he really, really gets to show off his dramatic chops in this movie. With as comedic as this movie is, it has points of just like, man, like it just hits you in the feels, you know.
Yes, he's a character you really feel for sure.
Yeah. And I just, I so want to just hang out with this guy. Like, you know, I don't know if I want to stay in a hotel room with him.
Yeah, for sure. Oh man, that's definitely his fatal flaw is his hotel habits.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
But I've been so excited to talk to you about this movie. I thoroughly enjoyed a rewatch of this and just love it. It's so good. It's so good.
Yes.
And I forgot that Kevin Bacon is in it. Like in the opening scene, I was like, "Oh yeah, he doesn't have any lines.
Doesn't have a line or anything, but there he is, Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
Businessman Kevin Bacon.
Yep.
It's where you get the this era. You get the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon from.
Yes.
For the most part.
Yeah.
Like, you can connect to just about anybody. Absolutely.
Can. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, this is just one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah.
It's got there's some math problems that don't add up for me, and I don't want to go too deep into the weeds on it. So I'm gonna pick one thing, and I'll let you pick one thing, and we'll pick at it, and then we'll leave that as it is because it is just a movie. But why was the plane that was headed for Chicago, right, from New York to Chicago? There was weather in Chicago.
Sure.
They couldn't land in Chicago. Sure. Why were they diverted all the way down to Wichita? Wichita, Kansas. Not even like Kansas City or St. Louis. Yeah. No, Wichita, Kansas. And I looked it up. It's actually the flight from New York to Chicago was like a 3-hour flight or something like that. It's 12-hour and 20-minute drive. From Chicago to Wichita was like a 11-hour and 30-minute drive, or like a flight that's about 10 minutes shorter. So it's almost the same distance in the opposite direction that they had to go for this diverted flight. Yeah. Just that one kind of stuff. Yeah. That one was probably one of the most egregious travel. I don't know. I'm not familiar enough with 80s plane travels to know if maybe airports shut down at night. Maybe they didn't accept flights after a certain point. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe KCI or MCI or whatever it was called at the time was not accepting flights.
Maybe not.
Maybe they were snowed into. Yeah. I don't know. But that one.
I don't know. Or you landed.
Why so far?
Landed St. Louis. Like
St. Louis, yeah.
I don't know.
They were in St. Louis
Des
the next
Moines.
day, so clearly
Like,
there wasn't a
there's-
problem.
there's-
I don't. Yeah, there's options.
Yes, yeah.
Just saying.
I don't know.
That means they were on the plane for like 6 hours before they finally landed
Yes.
in Wichita.
Yes.
Which they don't. I don't know. I'm not. I imagine they're not fueling up the plane to the brim. They're probably only putting in what they need to get where they're going with like some extra, some headroom.
Yeah.
So I don't know that they filled it up with twice the fuel they needed to get to Chicago.
Right.
I don't know if they'd make it to Wichita.
Just glided.
Maybe. I don't know.
Just glided.
I suppose. I don't know. Was there any particular travel time thing that kind of bugged you?
No, that I mean that did.
Yeah.
Because I thought, oh, gosh, if like I get it, like Chicago's snowed in or whatever, they can't land.
Yeah.
But like I don't know. There's Detroit.
So many others.
There's Cleveland. It's like there's a lot closer places that you can, instead of going, 3 states farther across the country, you could, easily just kind of, I don't know.
All right. I'll give you one then. The very end, the last night they stay in a hotel room. That they're driving the car down the highway, and it catches fire. They are 100 miles away from Chicago.
102 miles.
Point.
Yes.
102 miles.
I did.
Why didn't they just continue on home?
Yep. That's one thing. And then later, they're talking about how they're when they hitch the ride in the back of the semi, that they're like 3 hours or something from from Chicago. I'm like, that is one thing. Yeah, the math doesn't add up here. Why?
No, that one. Yeah, that one. I think that was probably the most egregious for me.
Yeah.
Now that I'm thinking,
because they were almost there.
100 miles, almost there.
Less than 2 hours.
It probably took them longer to find a hotel room, get checked in, and get settled than to drive home.
Yep.
To just drive home, be there.
Yeah.
It was that one. Yeah.
Yep.
But okay.
Anyway,
so we'll leave that be. But yeah. So okay, then what was probably your favorite scene within the movie?
Oh goodness. It was probably when they're in that first hotel room. And Steve Martin Neil is taking the shower. And then when he goes to get out, like just discovering the absolute slob that Gus is.
Del.
Is it Del? Del is. I'm sorry. Del.
Yeah.
Del is.
Del Griffith.
Yeah. I don't know where I got Gus from. That Del is. And then it's just, I don't know, it's everything that ensues in that night. Like they're laying in that bed. The bed's too small for both of them.
Yes.
And Del's like hawking up loogies and stuff.
I got to clear my sinuses. I won't get any good
And
sleep.
he's being a nice guy, but he's just
also kind of obnoxious.
Yeah, kind of obnoxious. And then he's like, I'm pretty tired. And they finally decide they're gonna go to bed. And then he reaches over and grabs a book and he flips that lighter on to like read to the light of the lighter. And then when it's the cream of that, the jewel of that whole scene is when they wake up in the morning and Dallas is kissing Neil. And then he's rubbing his hand and everything, and then they realize where they're at, and he's like, why are you kissing me? Why are you holding my hand? And then he asks him, where's your hand at? Where's your other hand?
Those aren't
It's between two pillows. Those aren't pillows.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was fantastic.
Yeah. That's probably my favorite scene. Yeah.
That's a great one for sure. The whole thing in the beginning there where he's in the shower. Had Del gone in and taken a shower and destroyed the bathroom before Neil got in the
Yes.
shower, or did Dell do that while Neil
I
was
think
in the
he
shower?
did it.
How did he not notice
Because he told Neil to just go in there first. He's like, you go ahead and
Yeah.
take it first. He had to have done it while
he was in the shower.
Yeah, while he was in the shower, which I don't know how Neil didn't realize he was in there, or maybe they just didn't show
Right.
that. I don't know.
Or just, he was into it, to taking the
Yeah.
shower or whatever, distracted.
Which-
I don't know. Dell was quick with the tornado in there.
Oh my gosh. That shower though the shower itself was gross. Like I'm looking at that and I'm just like, I don't know. I've been in some nasty hotel rooms and I'm like can totally like when you see the shower stop and he looks up at it and it's like that brown slime that's inside of the shower head, and I don't know.
Yeah.
That whole scene grossed me out.
I think we're a little spoiled with modern hotels in that there are more. The baseline standard for cleaning a hotel is much higher now than it was back then.
Yeah.
You look at like any movie from the 70s, 80s, even some 90s where they're in the hotel.
Yeah.
That's not like a 5-star like the Palace or whatever.
Yeah.
But like an average Joe hotel, they aren't the best looking or the cleanest looking. But in all the times I've ever stayed in hotels, I can't remember a time where I've stayed in a hotel room that had the little coin-operated machine and did the vibrating bed thing. Have you ever seen one of those in real life? I've never seen one in real life. I've never seen one in real life.
I don't know if I want to see one in real life, to be honest.
Although 10-year-old me would have wanted to go for a ride.
Oh, sure.
Sure.
Yeah,
But adult me would regret
yes.
it. Absolutely. Now, I think my favorite scene, I was thinking about it, and then it just it poofed out of my brain because I got distracted and I talked about something else. Man. Yeah. I brain farted. I'll have to come back to it.
It'll come back to you.
So, have you seen that they're doing a remake of this movie?
No.
With Will Smith and Kevin Hart. Yeah, conflicting.
I don't know.
I mean, they've been talking about it for a few years now, so I think it's been put on hold since everything that happened with Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
I mean, Will Smith.
Yeah.
Not Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
Kevin Hart would be interesting.
I don't know. I don't have anything against either one of those actors, but this is a movie that I feel like just needs to stay as what it is.
You would not remake it.
I would not.
There's nobody you can see.
No, because it's cast perfectly. I mean, you cannot replace either of these characters. You can't replace Steve Martin. Nobody can play Neil like Steve Martin played Neil. Nobody can play Dell like John Candy played Dell. I feel like the characters are just. I don't know if this is a fact or not, but personally, when I watch it, I feel like the characters were written specifically for those two actors.
I mean, it's basically the Odd Couple on the road.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a road trip version of Odd Couple.
It is, yeah.
But
Yeah.
I feel like it could be redone, but I feel like you can't do a shot-for-shot remake.
Oh,
you
no.
can't use the same script. You definitely need to bring it up to modern times. You can't
do the
can't vacation it.
No.
You can't do like they did with the vacation movies and try and do that. You got to do, but I feel like it could be done, but I think it's harder now because we got technology. We're connected to everything. Like, you're gonna have to do some nimble writing to get around some things. I mean, maybe like a global cellular outage could come into play, perhaps. Yeah.
I mean, you can't do like the cab scene in the beginning because now it's just like, oh, Uber.
It's Uber. Yeah. Although somebody could steal your Uber.
I guess that's true.
That does happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
But I don't know about Will Smith and Kevin Hart though. I do like Kevin Hart in it, but I think I'd probably put like
The Rock.
I don't know. No, I mean, I love The Rock,
Yeah.
and the two of them together is fantastic.
Yeah.
But I feel like they've done too much
Yeah,
together.
yeah,
No, I was
yeah.
thinking like maybe like Zac Efron or somebody like that as the straight man.
Yeah.
I think could be really fun.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah.
But Yeah, that's just me.
How snooty was Neil though in that scene? Like when he finally gets on the plane because they've had the delay, and he's like desperate to go home, and they're like, "Well, the best we could do is coach," and he's like, "No, I had a first class ticket." You're wanting to get home to your family.
Yes.
Who cares?
Deal with that later.
Who cares?
Right? It's a 3-hour flight.
Yes.
Get home.
Who cares?
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. I thought the same thing. I was like, okay, bring it up once. I had this first class ticket. What's going on here? Oh, sorry, sir, we can't help you. We're overbooked. Fine, I'll take my seat. I'll deal with it after the fact. But yeah, he just kept coming back to it. Like,
which I guess is the arc of the character because, he eventually kind of sees
learns
things.
To let that go. I guess maybe, kind of. I don't know. He seems to grow a soft spot for Dell, but I don't feel like he changed much. I don't feel like, I think we're going to find him at the country club complaining about the temperature of his water or something in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you were talking about the opening scene with Kevin Bacon. There's another one there. We got Ferris Bueller's dad right there in the opening scene.
Oh, that's right.
The guy that's like, you're never going to make the 10 or whatever he says.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just wait. Just go with me on the 8.
Go he made it.
Oh yeah.
No
he
problem.
Did. Yes. Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
He just
or he's sitting up in a hotel room and just kind of waited it out. Either way, he's fine.
Yeah.
He's easygoing.
He got there the next day.
Was that Ferris Bueller's dad? Because he's going back to Chicago. I mean, they didn't give him a name or anything like that. You think that could have been his dad, like his real dad?
Yeah, I like that.
I like to think that all these John Hughes movies, like, well, not all of them, but definitely like there's like a core group of them, like this and Ferris Bueller and Breakfast Club and Home Alone. They all exist. Uncle Buck in this nice little universe where all the characters actually like cross over from one thing to the other. I saw one that was really interesting, and it was a fan theory that this movie led into Uncle Buck, and Dell becomes Uncle Buck to this.
I was thinking that. I hadn't seen the theory, but I was thinking that today, actually. I was like, I wonder,
Hey, why not? I feel like John Hughes kind of missed it there. He should have made the multiverse or the what is it, universe building or whatever wasn't a thing really at the time.
The John Hughes universe.
John Hughes universe. I feel like with a little tweaking, we could get there. Like we got the technology now. Just a little CGI, get everybody to change the names on some characters, and I think we're good to go.
I mean, Kevin and the McAllisters, they live in Chicago. So
is it the same house? I thought
it looks like it's
very
not,
similar,
but it's very similar to it. Yeah,
it's that that was just that stately Chicago home in like the late 90s or 80s. That was like a not a staple, but like an aspirational type home. That was definitely like the home that they put up, and they're like, okay, these people. They may not be the wealthiest, but they're definitely well off.
Oh yeah,
and this is what that looks like.
Upper middle class, sort of. Like,
upper middle class, lower upper class.
Lower upper class. Yeah, sure, yeah,
for sure. Yeah, that was definitely. I don't know. Yeah. So Dell's got quite the hustle. He's a bit of a hustler for sure.
Like, I love him.
Hawking those shower curtain rings and the train station to make like $100-$200 or something like that.
That was one of that. I take it back. That was my favorite scene because he's like got those girls. He's like, oh, you could pass for 18, 19,
18, 19,
20 years old. They're just money. And it's shower curtains. It's shower curtains.
And
shower curtain rings.
He's got all these people wearing shower curtain rings or earrings. Yes, but he did it.
He did.
He got him. He convinced him. Yeah.
These are. It wasn't Tina Turner. It was some celebrity. Like these are so and so's signature.
Diane
Sawyer's. Yes.
Diane Sawyer's signature earrings. Yes. That was fantastic.
Yeah. I love the little when he introduces himself like fully, on the plane to Neil.
He's got the little like pocketbook
samples
thing.
with the shower, like the little tiny little shower curtain rings in there. Yeah.
Was it just pictures or was it actual?
I think they were real. Like I
rings?
feel like they were like those little models, that like door-to-door salesmen would bring with them when they coming around. They're selling you, some I mean, they used to do it back in the day, you know, little...
Yeah.
I can't think of an example.
They have little samples.
Yeah, it was just like
they
a
come
small
sell you
one.
an encyclopedia and they just bring W or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So that reminds me, my favorite scene, if I remembered it now, so we'll come back to it, is the scene where they're in the car, the Dell rented after they can't get out of St. Louis, I believe. And so they're in the rental car that Dell had, and they're going down the highway, and Neil decides to take a little bit of a nap, and Dell is just jamming out to... what was that song? Man, I forget.
Ray
the name of that
Charles.
song. He's just, was it Ray? Oh, The Mess Around.
The Mess Around, yep.
The Mess Around, yeah. He is just living his best little life. And it was, I lived for that moment. That was so much fun. And then whenever he's trying to he gets a little worked up and he's like, whew, it's getting hot in here. I'm going to take off this parka. And he goes to take it off. That has got to be my worst nightmare, getting locked down with both hands. You can't reach the wheel. That's a new nightmare for me, for sure.
Just wake Neil up. Yell, wake up, Neil. He's going to thank you. I know he didn't want to wake him up because he's grouchy and he was sleeping, but
or whenever that you like, and then he spins the car out, and he finally gets back on the highway, and the people are like, "You're going the wrong way," and it's like, how do they know where they're going the wrong way? How do they know where we're going? They don't know where we're going. These
drinking,
people are crazy. Yes,
I love that, and they go between the two semis, which the semis really don't even attempt to get out of the way of this vehicle.
No,
they go right between them, and the sparks are flying. And then Neil looks over at Dell, and he turns into Satan.
The devil.
He's just like, you know?
Oh, that was fantastic. It was like he turns into a skeleton.
Yeah, yes. I love that.
It was like a brief moment of just like ludicrous, over the top, like cartoonishness. But it was fine.
Oh, yeah.
It was just a brief moment, and it worked, and it was great, and it was hilarious, and I loved every minute of it.
And it's like it goes back to, well, actually no, because this came out before Home Alone. But
yeah, this was 87.
He does the same thing. Hughes does the same thing in Home Alone with Marv when he like gets electrocuted, and you see the skeleton real fast, and then it goes back
for just a brief second.
And it's you're right. It's so funny. It's so ludicrous, but it is done in a way that it doesn't hurt the movie at all, and it's so funny. Like when you see their skeleton, the eyeballs are still in there, and the hair is still on the head.
You couldn't do it today.
No, you couldn't.
It works for the time, for sure.
Yeah, it does. Yep.
So we didn't talk about this at the beginning. This is normally something we bring up, but budget and box office.
Sure.
What are your guesses?
Oh, I have no idea. I don't even know where to begin. You just give me the numbers. I don't know.
All right. $15 million budget.
Wow.
Pretty small. Like I'm shocked
movie.
at how small that was.
Yeah.
All right, I'll give you the opening weekend, and I'll see if you can guess the total gross. This is another one that just has a U.S. Canada gross, and then the worldwide is the same. So I'm assuming it didn't have a big worldwide release. Yeah. Probably because Thanksgiving isn't really much of a thing outside the States.
Oh, sure.
Actually, it isn't a thing outside the U.S.
No,
not at all. No, we're the only ones that celebrate it. We forget about that, and we tend to get a little Neil about it. But whatever.
Yeah, sure.
Opening weekend, $7 million. Opening weekend. Made back almost half of its budget.
Oh, opening weekend. Okay.
Opening weekend.
For some reason, you said that, and my brain was thinking total. Anyway, okay.
No, yeah. Then I'm going to ask you what you think the total was based off of that.
So opening weekend, $7 million.
$7 million. 1987.
Okay.
Total worldwide gross.
I'm going to say $54 million.
Ooh, getting close. 49.5.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's pretty good. This is a solid Hughes movie.
Yeah.
I would be curious, whenever we go, next Hughes movie we do, if I remember, I want to get the grosses for all of his movies and see which one did the best.
Oh, sure.
I'm curious. So maybe I'll bring that up on the next
I'm
one
willing
if I
to bet
remember.
it's Home Alone. But
You think? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
I think you're
Yeah.
right. We may have to eliminate that
Yeah.
one and then see what comes
Yeah.
after it.
Yeah.
Because Home Alone was just an animal
Yeah.
at for sure. But yeah, like that's pretty good for. I can see, and it's still popular today.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
it's got so much like rewatchability, and it's just watched. Like I said, I watch it every year at least.
It's great.
yeah.
It's great.
Yeah,
And there's
great way to start the holiday.
it is
the holiday season.
And there's so many there's so many side characters that are funny in
Yes.
this. Like the taxi guy that's got like the pompadour, and it's
Yeah, that's Larry Hankel.
Yeah.
He was Mr. He was the downstairs neighbor in like the first couple seasons of Friends.
Yep. And he's I don't know. It's just that
He's a ridiculous character.
I
He
thought you
needed a
guys
little
just
more
want to
time,
see
for
the
sure.
town, And it's like, no, like we just want to get to the hotel room, man. And I saw something on there, and it reminded me of something else. So in that scene, it reminded me that I read somewhere where in movies they typically remove headrests on cars inside the car so
Okay.
you can see the actors better.
Yeah.
And I can't ever unsee it now. So like in that scene, I'm like, oh yeah, the headrests aren't there.
Yep. It's one of those things. It's like it's like seeing a phone number that's 555.
Yeah.
You're like, oh yeah, Hollywood.
Yeah.
Okay, it takes you out of it just a little bit.
It does a little
Every
bit.
once in a while, you see a phone number though, and it's not 555, and I'm like, is that an actual phone number? Like, you remember Bruce Almighty?
Mm-hmm.
That one came out, and he had the pager, right? When it first ran in theaters, he looked at the pager, and there was an actual phone number on there, and you could call it.
Yeah.
And it was, they thought they were just using, like, if I remember correctly, they thought they were just using random numbers, and it ended up being like a phone number in California somewhere.
Oh, no.
And so, like, there was this person that was getting, like, harassed by all these phone calls.
Yeah.
And within, like, the first week or two, they switched out the films everywhere and removed that from it.
Yeah.
And so, like, subsequent airings and, showings and everything like that, it had it just a 555 number.
Yeah.
But that was, like, so that's crazy.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
yeah, whenever you see the 555s, I'm like, oh, it's a Hollywood number.
Yeah.
It's not a real number.
I was saw somewhere where it was I think it was Loverboy that was talking about their song 8675309, and they're like, we couldn't record that now because it had to be 555 5555 or whatever, It couldn't be.
Well, I mean, they don't have the area code with it,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
you'd be kind of guessing on the area code.
Yeah.
But yeah, for sure. I remember that's a time too. Whenever you didn't have to dial the area code, you just dialed the number. Or I remember back home in Chillicothe there, whenever I was probably like, I don't know, 10, 11, 12, something like that. Even probably as old as like 13 or 14. You only had to dial the last 4 digits, and it would within the city, and it would dial out to wherever you were trying to call. Like to call Dad at work, it was like just dial 2000.
Yeah.
Connected you right away.
Can't believe we still remember that number. Yeah.
I can't remember the old home number. But whatever.
6791.
6791. All right. Well, I won't be using that as a password anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Now the whole world knows.
Yeah. Don't log into the podcast, please.
Yes. But yeah, it had. So there were some great side characters. There's that, and then Owen, the guy that was picking them up with like his wife and everything, and they had to go in the back of his truck.
Yes.
And
that guy was great.
Oh man. And
yes, Dylan Baker.
He'd be talking, and then he's just like,
Oh my God! Have you seen the? I don't know where you watch it at, or if you have DVD of it, but there's a special feature.
Okay.
And it's got his audition tape for the role.
Really?
And it's him, and it's much longer. The part is like the way it was originally written, like they cut it back probably at least half.
Okay.
And he's just like he's doing that like hawking thing, like every sentence. It's so crazy. And then like he does like a couple different deliveries on the character. And there's one that's a little more like deadpan, but he still does that like weird hawk thing. But it was fantastic. That was a great.
I'll check that out. Yeah.
Woman, get out of the car and get that in the back of the truck.
Oh no, she doesn't. Oh no, she's strong.
She don't mind.
She's
skinny, but she's strong.
She's strong. Her last baby came out sideways.
She didn't say a word. Oh, that was fantastic. Yes. Man. Yeah, all the side characters for sure are just like, just comedic. Like they had so many just like great character actors, especially of the time, in here to play all these like character parts. And it really like layered the movie as a whole. And, he was definitely one of the most memorable, if not one of the best. But and then like to go back to the beginning, Steve Martin and John Candy are. I don't know that I've ever seen them in anything else, but this was like. I really wish we could have seen them in something else.
Oh, together. I mean, I've never seen them in anything else. But I know what you mean.
No. Ever. I've never seen them. Where'd these guys come from?
They were there and gone.
In anything else again. And
should have been.
Yeah, I watch Only Murders in the Building on Hulu, and Steve Martin's on that. And he looks exactly the same. It's crazy that man has aged. I think he's aged about 4 years in the last 40. Him and what's the other actor that's famous for never aging? Paul Rudd.
Oh yeah,
It's like, there needs to be scientific studies done about these two.
Is he a vampire or like what is this?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So I guess I was again watching something probably on Instagram or I don't know. There was the last scene, well, one of the last scenes when Neil decides to come back and get Dell and bring him, to his house, and he finds him in the rail station, and all in the movie, all he says is, I can't remember was it Darlene? I can't remember what his wife's name was, but like she died 8 years ago, and then you're like, okay. But I guess there was a whole
it was a lot longer
line of dialogue that they cut from there, and
Hughes actually shot a lot. Like, I think this movie, the original cut, the first cut that he made of this movie with all of the script and everything in it, was like 4 hours long or something.
Wow.
It was crazy, like how much they had to cut out of it. Like, I think they said they basically could have made a whole nother movie with everything that they cut out of this one. I mean, it may not have made a whole lot of sense, but they could have made a whole nother movie with all the footage they cut out of it. There was a whole subplot with Neil and his wife where she thought he was having an affair. And all this time, like, that's why she seems kind of like upset more than that he's not home. It's because she thinks that he's having an affair, and that he's just covering it up with this whole like, oh, the airplane got diverted, or
really?
I'm stuck with this guy. So at the very end, whenever she's introduced to Dell, she's kind of got that aha look on her faces because the character is essentially being like, oh, so he wasn't cheating. Dell is a real person. This all actually happened. But they cut that out because it just wasn't necessary. Yeah. And it made Neil seem, it made her seem a little too shrewish, and it made him a little less forgiving. Like, he's already like, there's that speech that he gives in the first hotel room that first night where he's on the line as far as like, this guy might be irredeemable. Like, he may be like, he goes pretty hard at Dell.
Terrible.
That hurts. Like, he's cutting so hard. And that's another thing with this movie. The first time you watch it and you don't know about Dell's wife, having died, and he's essentially living out of a suitcase. you're watching and you're like, yeah, he's kind of annoying, but you don't have to be a jerk about
Yeah.
it. But anyway. And then the next time you watch it, there's that whole,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh man, it's even worse.
Yeah.
It's worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, there was a lot more to it for
Yeah,
sure that they cut out, and that they, like you said, that train station scene was another kind of a big one. I think that was one of the last things that they cut before the final edit, because it was much longer.
And they shouldn't, like, I was reading through it, and he's like talking about how he, ever since his wife died, like, he attaches himself to people, and he like is sad because, like, he's talking about Neil, and he's like, you've got your kids that can come sit on your knee or whatever. He's like, I'll never get that. And he's like, I just went too far this time, or whatever. And very heartfelt. And like the thing I was watching, Steve Martin like reads it, and then he's like,
yes,
I don't know why they cut that from the movie. He's like,
and they lost the footage for it too.
Did they really?
So so you can't. That's why, because I think that version where Steve Martin reads it, that's the only version of it that we have, because they lost the footage for it. I think it's probably in. I know John Hughes' estate has he kept everything, but like he was kind of like a pack rat, so he has like a lot of stuff, and they never found it, or it got lost or whatever, and but yeah, so it may still be in his estate somewhere. We may uncover it one day. Who knows? Yeah. But yeah, that's the only version of it that I think they have. But it was much longer, and it's like you said, it was more hard. It was more
explained his
wrenching.
His actions and
explained his actions a little more for sure. But they tested it, and the audiences couldn't get past it to the happy ending. Like it took everybody emotionally so far down that whenever Neil takes him home, it doesn't have the same impact. It doesn't have that like happy ending impact anymore. It's just, you're still left kind of feeling down. So they cut it back, and they were like, okay, at this point, you feel a little better.
Yeah.
To the end.
Yeah.
And I think it works better that way for sure. I think I agree that you can't go emotionally that far down, especially like that first hotel scene. He already took us down that emotional hole. And I feel like, it works much better. Like it's such a tight movie. It's such a tight movie. John Hughes movies are always so tight, and just like they're packed perfectly. Like from beginning to end, there really isn't much of it. There's not really anything you can see where you're like, oh, I need to take that out of it, or I could do without this part or whatever. More than, I'd say, beyond like 5 or 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Like everybody can probably pick out like a good 10 to 30 second chunk that they're like, I could do without that. But it doesn't change the story at all. It's probably like a personal preference thing or something like that. But his movies are just, they're packed in perfectly.
Yeah, they really are.
And he's an artist for sure.
Yep.
Another one that, like, man, what could have been.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're left with heroes don't get old.
Nope. No. That's
what is the old Batman quote? You die the hero, or you live to become the villain. And I feel like actors are quite the same. You either go out with the great breadth of movies behind you, or you live long enough to make some bad ones. Luckily, they didn't. Or did, or luckily or unluckily, or however you want to look at it. But they both have it's a great movie.
It is great. It's a great movie.
Yeah,
and
I enjoyed it very much.
It's it may be it's one of the only Thanksgiving movies that I know about. They just don't make a lot of Thanksgiving movies.
They really don't. No. I mean, they make a lot of. They do. I think here's the thing: they bundle Thanksgiving movies as opening scenes to Christmas movies, or stepping stones within Christmas movies, and really, that's kind of all Thanksgiving is anymore. Is pre-Christmas. Thanksgiving is just like the warm-up it's the break in the middle of the Christmas holiday season.
It's like it's the scissors cutting the ribbon almost for you for Christmas.
It's the Wednesday of the Christmas season. It's hump day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I don't know. You got more to. I mean, I could go on about this movie, but
sure. Yeah,
who could?
I mean, the only other thing that I really had a note on here that I was going to say, and it is something you touched on earlier, was that scene, that second hotel room that they stay in after the car is all burnt up and everything. Which it's so funny that they're still driving that car around. That scene when I feel like they finally connect in that hotel room, and they're drinking, and they're having a good time. They're laughing, and everything. I'm like, God, this is such a good scene. Yeah, such a good scene. It really.
Where did they get that from? Is that is there like a mini bar in the hotel?
I'm assuming.
Or did they just go to get that at the convenience store? I wonder. Man, they don't do that in hotels anymore.
No.
I don't. The only time I've seen a mini bar in a hotel is whenever we stayed in Vegas. And I think in Washington, D.C., we had a mini bar in the hotel in Washington, D.C. as well.
Well, now it's like they just have a full-on bar down in the...
Yeah, you just go down to the lobby and you can get yourself a $10 beer or whatever. Or, hit the convenience store that's a block up the road and get a six-pack for the same. Yeah. But, yeah, their beers are always... They're always skunky. Like, I've never gotten a beer in a hotel and it's been a good one. It's always skunked or they don't have a good selection. But anyways, I digress.
You're right. You're right. Yeah.
Well, before you take us into your icebreaker for the next episode, I just want to throw it out there that if you love This Podcast Takes Tokens, get yourself a free sticker. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, or you know what? Now we're accepting reviews on, or not reviews, sorry, comments on YouTube after Will's fantastic comment on our Metal Gear Solid episode. You leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or a comment over on YouTube, a good one. We won't accept just emojis or anything less than a sentence. We need a decent comment, something that really engages in some conversation. And screenshot that. Send it to us at thispodcasttakestokens@gmail.com. That'll be in the show notes. And your address. We're going to need your mailing address. I can't divine that. I'm not going to guess it. I could guess it, but it's probably not going to make it to you. There's probably a 1 in a billion chance that you would get it at that point. But if you want it to arrive at your home, I need your home address. And I'll send you a sticker for each review that you claim, for each comment that you claim. Only one comment per episode and only one unique review on... you could leave multiple unique reviews if you have multiple accounts. I don't mind that. But, one review per account on Apple Podcasts. And, I'll send you some stickers. We got up to 5. I've got 5 different ones. I'll send you up to 5 of them. And this is going to run through the end of the year. So you have till December 31st, 2004 to send us an email. I'll take them right up till midnight.
2024.
2024. Did I say 2004
you said 2004
again?
again. Yeah, that's all right.
I think I cluster my words, and I think it's just like I lose the 2 within there because 2 is such a small word. So just 2004. Yes, 2024, December 31st. So get those in, and we'll send you out some stickers. Get collecting.
Yeah, they're good looking stickers. Very good.
Yeah, thank you. All right, you ready for close it out?
Icebreaker teaser for next week. You'll hear it, and if you know, you'll know. If not, you won't, and you'll find out next week. So, Derek, would you rather be gifted a Mogwai on Christmas, assuming all of the responsibilities that it entails until the creature dies? Okay, so as long as it lives.
What's the lifespan on a Mogwai?
I don't know.
Okay.
If it's not taken care of properly and somebody gets hurt or something gets damaged, you have to assume all legal and financial responsibility. Okay?
All right.
Or...
well, what's the payoff if I make it all the way to the end? There's only consequence in that.
Well, I know. Exactly. Or...
okay.
you get the love of a Mogwai. or be forced to skip over Christmas Eve and Christmas Day every year for the rest of your life. You cannot change the day of the year that you and your family celebrate Christmas. It's always going to be on Christmas. So, like, your family gets to experience that, but you have to, like, you'll go to bed on the...
Do I just, like, blip out
Yep.
for 48 hours? And then I don't exist within the universe?
You will never have any memory of it. Every year.
All right. Yeah. I already got my answer, but we're good.
Yeah, well, you know.
We'll find out next time.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that, we're reaching the checkpoint, my friends. Remember, sharing is caring. Reviews help a lot. We've already told you that you leave us some reviews, we will totally send you some great stickers. Share it with your friends, family. We'd love to have more people on board. And until next time, remember, be kind and rewind.
Yes, we'll see you all next time.
This Podcast Takes Tokens is a Clay Street production.